Hi, I'm not Heather. Heather is taking the SATs, so she asked me to fill in for her. I'm here, and I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to talk about Egypt. The important. I'm gonna skim over Egypt because it's a long history. So what do we think of when we think of Egypt? I know what I think of. Pyramids. So let's kind of look at how the pyramid came to be. First, it was just the mastaba, which was a tomb that had a chapel inside it, and then an underground tumble that led to burial chambers. A bunch of mastabas grouped together would be called necropolitis, which literally translates to city of the dead. Why the mastaba though? Like, why not just shove it in the ground or burn it or something? Well, the Egyptians, of course, are known for their ideas on the afterlife. What they believed basically was that everyone had a ka, and the ka existed after the body died, but still needed a form to inhabit. So basically, what the Egyptians would do is they would either mummify a body or build a statue of the deceased so that the ka could go inside it and live out the rest of its eternity, I guess. That's what led to, putting a lot of the person's personal items in them or whatever they needed for the afterlife. So then we had King Djoser, who was the first one to have sort of a step pyramid with the masta inside it and the burial chamber, everything under that. Then King Sneferu was the first to sort of fill in the step pyramid. We don't think about Sneferu a lot when we look at Egyptian history because his pyramid isn't what's famous. The famous pyramids that everyone goes to see, and that's the big tourist spot in Egypt, are three pyramids for, and I'm completely butchering their names, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. So they have these three consecutive pyramids that are very famous and that are great, gorgeous pyramids. They're very complex inside. They have a lot of trapdoors and a lot of intense, you don't want to go in there. You're not going to probably come out of there. So these are the really great pyramids, and everyone who sees these, even now, today, know how great these rulers were, and that was the point. You can kind of tell I'm not as interesting as Edko or Heather. Pessimism. One really famous statue was of Khafre, and this statue was made of a really interesting material that was imported from Nubia, and the stone actually shone blue in sunlight. So, the purpose of making this giant statue out of this stone that glowed was saying, look at this ruler, look how great he is. So fast forward a bit to Queen Hatshepsut, who is very important because she's the first female king of Egypt. And I say king and not queen because there were queens before, but queen doesn't hold the same title. There were no queen rulers. The queens weren't rulers. What's important to mention is that in art, she's kind of depicted as male because that was the tradition in art, because the men had always been king. All the male clothing, the male poses, but in the statues you can still tell that she's a female. So what Hatshepsut is famous for is her funerary temple, which is huge. It's a massive funerary temple. And what that shows is that a lot of people loved her, because these types of things, they take a lot of time to make and a lot of people to make them. And it's not what people think. Generally, people are like, everything that is built by the slaves. It's not really like that. The slaves kind of did the dull work, like agriculture and stuff. The fact that so many people were like, yes, I want to do this. I want to build this amazing funerary temple for Queen Hatshepsut. I should mention, it's a temple, not a tomb. She wasn't buried there. She was buried a couple miles away from her funerary temple. She actually delayed her son, King Thutmose III. She delayed his reign by 20 years. So they wanted her to stay. They were like, yeah, we could have a male leader, but we're kind of good right now. Her son, by the way, this is interesting, is the first one to call himself Pharaoh. So here's something you probably didn't know about Egypt, unless you studied Egypt ever. Although they are known for having polytheistic religion, they were at one point monotheistic. Pharaoh Amenhotep abandoned Thebes. He abandoned the priests, and he was like, I'm gonna go to the Northern Nile. Peace, guys. One God. Screw you. So Aten was kind of this, in art at least, was depicted as the sun. Rays kind of went down, and at the end of them had human hands kind of reaching out and covering the royal family and protecting the royal family. Except this wooden god thing kind of had a very short reign because Akhenaten's son, when his father died, moved back to Thebes and, went back to the whole polytheistic religion, and everything kind of changed back. Just kind of end the Egyptian period with Alexander the Great, who is Greek, conquering Egypt, and then caskets become a little different. He's kind of placed in his casket, and instead of it kind of being a sculpture of him, there's more of a Roman style painting over where his head would be. Hi, I'm gonna watch Doctor Who now.